Okay. Let's get to the chieftain. Run past these guys. Yep. Sand People Chieftain seems grateful to you, or at least less inclined to mash your head open with a pokey grub seed.
Query. What do you wish to ask of him, Master?
Ask about the captives.
Clarification. We must be
actually, you know what?
Master. They capture many organics.
Yeah, well, let's go back to my other questions.
Protocol. We should not keep him long. It is an insult to take too much of his time, unless the plan is to blast him when you are done, of course.
Oh my gosh. Alright, let's, I want information on Sand People
Protocol.
culture.
This will be a very sensitive topic, Master. You will want to be careful with your questions or risk offending him. Not that that is much of a worry.
You know, something just has struck me. If any of you have played Star Wars, Dark Knights, Star Wars Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2, that's the game on PC. There's that droid that you're chasing at the beginning of the game, and you eventually fight him, and you take his head, and you, like, you know, watch a holographic projection of your father. HK's head looks similar to that droid. Kind of. Anyway. Let's see here. Yeah, that's Kyle Katarn you play as in that before he becomes a Jedi in that game. Tell me the history of your clan.
Translation. Translation. You have been told that to be considered worthy of hearing the histories, you need to bring him a dragon pearl from a crate dragon. Translation. He says the discussion is closed until you fulfill this condition. He thinks you are just making fun of his traditions.
Here is a dragon pearl.
Translation. Translation. He is stupefied, Master. He never thought you could return with such an item. Such a thing has not been done in many years. Translation. He will allow you to meet the storyteller, but also gives a warning. If you dare to repeat the histories incorrectly, you will be killed.
Dang.
Translation. The storyteller will be summoned to one of the rooms here in the enclave. He seems to think this is a great honor for you, Master.
Let's go back to my other questions. Alright, cool. So we're gonna check on that after we deal with the Jawas.
To take too much of his time, unless the plan is to blast him when you are done, of course.
It's gonna be cool to listen to the stories. Ask about captives.
Clarification. We must be more specific, Master. They capture many organics.
Ask about setting the captive Jawas free.
Translation. Translation. He says that the captive Jawas are slaves, and that they have lived past their usefulness. You may take them if you wish.
Cool. I don't know if us impressing him with the Dragon Pearl as to be a, quote, worthy warrior, but I wanted to do that before I asked about the Jawas, but, you know, it seems like it's kind of whatever, since they're past their usefulness. Tell him farewell for now.
Translation. Translation. We are free to leave.
Nice. Alright, let's go talk to the Jawas, then we're gonna find the storyteller. And listen to what he has to say. Jawa's this way, I believe. Trying to get to them quickly. Yep, there they are. The Sand People said you can go run to Anchorhead. Oh man. Doing the deeds. Leaving the planets better than we found them. Hey guys, where are you? You're like way back there.
Yes?
Bastila. Where are you going? Hey.
Yes?
Alright, let's go find the storyteller, guys. He's gotta be around here somewhere. Not back here. We already checked all that stuff. I have a feeling it's this guy maybe, or these women. Well, females. Probably a more appropriate way of describing them. Where is your storyteller? Maybe they're back near the chieftain. Up, the storyteller. We walked right by him. But, nah, I'm glad we took care of the Jawas first. Compared to the warriors that you have encountered, the Sand People storyteller is relatively calm in his movements and speech, but he still regards you coldly.
Translation. He identifies himself as the storyteller, Master. He has been told of your warrior skills and will speak the history to you.
I am honored. Ask him what he records.
Translation. Translation. There is only one accepted history, passed orally to each successive generation. Translation. A book or datapad can be taken away, cheapening the value of what it contains. To commit it to paper or storage is to remove it from the people.
What topics can I choose from? Oral histories are often inaccurate. We'll be respectful of the Sand People.
Translation. Translation. You may choose to hear the history, or you may choose not to. Their history is a single entity that cannot be partitioned. Translation. The only exception is in continuing the tales once they have begun. If you leave, when you return, he will continue from where he left off.
Dang. Oh man, this could be a while. Alright, begin the history.
Translation. Translation. It begins with the ancient times. They were not sand people, for there was no sand. The land was green with life, and they walked without wrappings. Translation. Though the land was beautiful, they lived apart from the land. They built their walls high and saw beyond the horizon. They dared to reach the stars. Translation. There are no words for how long ago this was. It was before the outsiders, before the abduction, before the cities fell, before the builders.
Ah, the builders. They left the star map. Continue with the history.
Translation. Translation. his arrogant people touched the stars, and this sin drew the attention of the builders. The builders did not touch the stars, they lashed them to millstones. Translation: great demons of metal stripped the world of its riches until all that was left was the green of the ground. The great cities were lifted away. Translation: those that had used the wealth were taken along with it. Transgressors abducted to serve past the sky, seeding the stars with penitent, adaptable slaves.
Wow. I did not expect that. I was like going on about the fact that Tatooine is some desert world now was like for natural reasons, not because of the builders coming and screwing everything up. Very interesting. Continue with the history.
Translation. Translation. There came a time when the builders were also judged for their crimes. After generations, a plague weakened them, and the time of the Great War began. Translation. The builders faltered, and his people realized why they had been punished, so that they understood the crime, and would now strike down the greater offender. Translation. They worked chaos in the machines, so they destroyed themselves. The builders fought back, laying waste to the green that had been misused with fire from above. Translation: soil became glass, grinding to sand, but the fight was long planned, and his people were safe. Deep in cave homes carved from valley wall, they were free.
Dang. So they went to war with the builders, huh? Continue with the history.
Translation. Editing, if I may, Master. This section of his tale details several millennia of the Long Walk, their nomadic wanderings as they accept their identity in a desert world. Rather than strain my circuits on his dialect, might we just assume there was much fighting over who has the biggest bantha and move on to more recent things?
If you can gently encourage that, go ahead. Oh gosh. Yeah, we'll do the first option here. This is what's so cool. I mean, the lore in this game is just fantastic.
Translation. Translation. The tribes spread far, distant from each other, but all the sand people and all cherished the land that remained. The sand would not be misused. Translation. Then machines fell from the stars again, outsiders like you that brazenly walked apart from the land. And greater still was the insult to come. Translation. These outsiders reminded them of their past transgression, of the time when they too walked apart from land. The outsiders, your kind, looked like their ancient abducted. Translation. So it is to the current sons that the Sand people hate all outsiders and give them no footing. You come again, time after time, adaptable slaves to the machine.
Dang. Interesting. So they've, like, evolved, I guess? Is there anything further?
Editing. The last 1,000 years are full of conflicts with different groups of attempted planetary settlers, all of whom are poorly described, long dead, and likely untraceable. I believe I have truncated it down to the usable bits in what was already said. I hope it is enough, Master.
I want to ask questions about what I've heard.
Cautionary. I should warn you, Master, that any questioning of their interpretation may be seen as trying to change the meaning of what was said. Clarification. they may consider this to be speaking the words in error, a blasphemy they would attempt to kill you for.
Oh, man. Oh my gosh. I want to ask something about the Great War.
Clarification. The occupying force suffered some sort of species-wide plague that lowered their numbers over time. His people used this extended weakness to sabotage their larger ships. The response of the builders appears to have been to lay waste to the entire surface of Tatooine.
Like, they went all Covenant on them? Glassed the planet, kind of? How could they repel such a powerful species? How could they survive such an attack? Oh man, this is so intriguing. I don't want to piss him off, though. I'm trying to think of what they're gonna react like. How could they survive such an attack? How could they repel such a powerful species? Well, they went into caves, so we know that answer. What kind of weapon could do so much damage?
Clarification. I may not have properly conveyed how long they fought with the builders. Given time, any number of armaments could destroy a world. Hypothesis. Perhaps this is another distortion. Their climate may have begun to fail due to their unrestrained development even before the builders arrived.
Interesting.
Looking back thousands of years later, such a shift could easily be attributed to the much-hated conquerors.
Okay, we're not going to do that. How could they repel such a powerful species?
Doubting. They didn't, Master. They struck a blow, but the storyteller only believes they won because the builders were gone when they emerged from their caves. That does not mean they defeated anyone. It seems clear that the builders simply sterilized their problem and left. The enemy judged them not worthy to fight.
Interesting. Okay, good. So I'm glad that we did have the option to relay stuff to him, which I don't think would be wise. So I can keep asking HK on his interpretation, or on his, from the information that he's gathered, since he's been able to quantify it a lot more easily. Ask him if that is a possibility. We're not going to do that. What kind of weapon could do such damage?
Clarification. I may not have properly conveyed how long they fought with the builders.
I'll suggest that possibility to him. We're not here to change them. They are very far gone from the people that they once were. I want to ask something about a different part of the history.
Cautionary. Remember my warning, Master. They may consider certain questions to be speaking the words in error, a blasphemy they would attempt to kill you for.
Okay, we're not going to do that. I want to ask something about the time of enslavement.
Clarification. I believe they were occupied by this technologically superior species for a substantial period. Stripping an entire planet of usable resources would have taken generations.
How many of his people were taken off-world?
Translation. Translation. He has no number. He claims that those that were taken were examples of the worst of his kind, arrogant and uncaring of the land. Doubtful.
Nah.
Master, this is just another distortion due to their demonization of the builders. It's like claiming an aspect of his people were taken, not actual individuals. Clearly, history has colored his view. Of course, only the inferior meatbags were taken. The remaining were his ancestors, after all. It must have been special.
Alright. HK, just chill out. I want to ask something else. Part of the history.
Cautionary. Remember
Yeah, okay. Let's see here. I want to ask something about the ancient times.
Clarification. It would appear that they once had a thriving technologically advanced society, but were wiped out by a much more sophisticated alien species.
Is there anything in the galactic record that would verify this?
Negative. I am no library, but since there is no Republic record of this planet having sentient life before Zerka colonization, I doubt you will find such evidence.
And since we're 4,000 years before the Galactic Empire, there's less information. Ask him if these builders resemble any modern species.
Translation. Translation. He only understands the builders as an iconic force meant to test the resolve of his people. He is not making sense, Master.
Yeah, he wouldn't have any identification.
They claim their stories are repeated unchanged, but they have demonized these builders. In their minds, they wreaked such havoc they could not possibly be flesh and blood.
Ask if they have an image we could compare with current species.
Cautionary. Master, this line of questioning may be interpreted as attempting to change the story. He may react poorly.
Oh my gosh. Can he clarify how long Tatooine was green with life?
Doubting. I don't believe he can, Master. Even if their stories are exact and unchanged, it is likely they were first told thousands of years after these events occurred. This has become very much like a creation myth for his people. There is no date. It simply was.
A brute reality? Okay. Let's see here. I will do that.
I will ask whatever you wish, Master.
Continue the history from where we left off. No, it's alright. Oral histories are often inaccurate. Okay. Alright, we're gonna...
Translation.
Yeah, hold on.
Translation. We are free to leave.
Okay, I'm gonna save it here, and I'm going to then ask him if they have a picture we can compare things with. Ask if they have an image we can compare with current species.
Cautionary. Master, this line of questioning may be interpreted as attempting to change the story. He may react poorly.
Alright, guys. Let's just do it.
Translation. Cautionary. As expected, he is claiming you have committed blasphemy. Warming blasters, combat is inevitable.
Oh my gosh, these freaking sand people, man. Alright, well, that's not gonna happen. Alright. Okay, I'm gonna try one more thing here before we move on from this. The storyteller and the sand people in general. I'm gonna just ask about the continuing the histories. I just want to get a sense of what that's like. I'm curious.
Storyteller waits for your questions, Master.
Alright, continue the history from where we left off.
Translation. Translation. Now that you have heard the whole of the history, you may select a piece of it to hear again.
Never mind. Well, cool. Let's return to my other questions.
Obedient. I will ask whatever you wish, Master.
Just gives us stuff to ponder over. And there's other places in the game where we learn more about the builders, so it kind of fills in the whole backstory of what the overall history or the overall. Anyway, yeah, you'll know. You'll know. I'll return later.
Translation. Translation. We are free to leave.
Pretty awesome stuff. Very cool. Very interesting. All right, guys. Let's go back to Anchorhead. We're gonna fast track this. Oh, darn it. I can't do it inside the enclave. But yeah, we'll discover more about the builders later, and it will create a much more complete backstory for what the actual quest is really going to uncover.